This week on the Analog Circle podcast, the PlayStation 5 Pro specs have allegedly leaked. Phil Spencer talks about when Activision games will come to Game Pass. Some very interesting news has been shared about the Switch 2, and we go over some possible DLC in the future for Spider-Man 2. All of these stories can be found here and a lot more in episode 183 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to say thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. Now, I'm so glad to be back. So glad to be back. If you guys want to chime in and contact the show, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-380-0281, or you can email the show, and the email address is simply theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. So with that being said, guys, big week this week that just happened. Spider-Man 2 released to amazing reviews, a 91 on Metacritic, a 91. God, dog, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Man, Insomniac does it again. A 91. Crazy times. Yes, indeed. So, quite a few stories to go over this week. As always, I want to try and keep the episode tight. Let's see if we can finish this out in an hour. We'll know, well, you guys will know before I do because you'll see the time. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And by the way, I did not pick up Spider-Man 2 this week. Simply, I was broke. Okay, I didn't have the funds. I didn't have the money to go out there and spend $70+ on Spider-Man 2. I'm going to have to pick that up at a later time. That's just the truth of the matter. But anyway, it still doesn't take away from it being an amazing game. People saying that it's setting the bar, setting the standard of what should be expected in this generation of gaming. Insomniac yet again continuing to get up that ladder. I think the last two games that actually got a 90+ rating from them was, I believe, Up Your Arsenal. I think that was Ratchet and Clank, Up Your Arsenal, and they actually made Spyro. I didn't know Insomniac made Spyro at one time. I think it was called Year of the Dragon, something like that. Both of those games actually got 90+ ratings, and then for them to actually continue to make that bar better and better when it comes to Spider-Man, going from, I think, what was it, like a 85 or 87 to now a 91. Incredible. So those guys over at Insomniac, which we're going to talk about them a little later on in the show, but those guys, they are absolutely astounding. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into the first news story of the week in the gaming news that went down. Let's start off in a shocking turn of events that I don't think anybody saw coming. Bethesda's head of publishing, Pete Hines, has announced that after 24 years, he will be retiring. He said, and I quote, "This is certainly not goodbye by any means. My love for Bethesda and its people has never wavered, and I will never stop being part of this incredible community we have grown. Thank you to the hundreds and thousands of fans I've gotten to meet and talk to over the last 24 years. Your energy, creativity, and support has been such a big part of my journey. I look forward to experiencing the next part of the adventure alongside you." End of quote. So you're retiring, Mr. Pete Hines. You are retiring. I gotta say this, man. I don't know. You know, this is a very, very interesting time in gaming with all of these high level guys being, either retiring or just, quitting. I mean, we know that on Sony's side, Jim Ryan, he retired allegedly, but I think they got that brother up out of there. And when it comes to Pete Hines, I got a couple of questions. I don't know if necessarily this brother is retiring. Now, of course, that's what they say, but I have to think that during that court case, when that brother was in court, oh man, didn't it sound like he was going against protocol it takes? Maybe I am putting a little bit of extra of what I thought was going on, but I remember during that court case, people were not too happy with Pete Hines. And Pete Hines even went out there and even apologized to PlayStation fans, saying that he is sorry that they won't be getting Starfield, but his hands are tied. To a certain degree, I think Phil Spencer felt like,
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
I think Pete Hines was Fredo, brothers. I think he betrayed him. I think that Phil and company said, look, man, I mean, you out there, telling the PlayStation fans, I'm sorry. It's nothing I could do. I would love for the game to be on your console. We're not used to this. This isn't what we do. I think it was a little bit of conflict in there. I think it was a possible bit of conflict. The guys over at Microsoft in the Xbox sector said, hey, look, Pete, you've been here for quite some time, brother. We ain't going to put you out there to the wolves. I think it might be a good time for you to go ahead and retire. We'll have you go out into the sunset. Nobody has to know otherwise. Just go out there, retire, and walk away. I think that's what they told him. Now, am I off? I don't know. Call in. Call in at 443-380-0281 if you want to challenge my theory. But that's how I feel. I think that Pete, he was out stout. I don't think that he liked the direction that they were going in with Bethesda, and him being in one of those top tier seats, being one of the head guys, no longer having the same amount of power, because of course when you get bought up, you merge with another company, you might not get as much say as you used to have. So I don't know. I don't think that it was a simple thing of I'm retiring and I'm leaving. I think possibly, very, very possibly, they said, I think it's a good time for you to exit, exit stage left, as it were. But we will probably know something in the upcoming years, when who's the guy who writes for Bloomberg? He always gets the stories on everybody, what happened, this happened, and that happened. Maybe one day it'll be a tell-all book that happens, and we'll get some deeper information on this at that time. But anyway, let's go ahead and move into the next story. So I got this next story. Oh, by the way, I got that last story from GameSpot, but this story comes to us way of Tom's Guide. So in PlayStation news, it looks like allegedly, and I do want to put a big emphasis on allegedly, the specs of the PlayStation 5 Pro have leaked. So in short, here are the specs when compared to the PlayStation 5. For the CPU, the PS5 has 3.5 gigahertz AMD Ryzen Zen 2 with 8 cores. The Pro has 4.0 gigahertz AMD Ryzen Zen 8 cores. So they're pretty evenly matched outside of a 0.5 difference. The GPU for PS5, it has a AMD Radeon RDNA 2 based graphics, 36 compute units. And for the PS5 Pro, it's being bumped up to AMD Radeon RDNA 3. Like Z says, that's all right, bro. Anyway. Matter of fact, I think that was Ball and Gaming though. But anyway, it says it's based graphics and it has actually 60 compute units. And as far as RAM goes, they both are the same at I believe this is, what did I write it down as? Coming in at 16 gigabytes, GDDR6. So with this alleged bump in specs, according to the article, this will improve the graphics and ray tracing. But because the console will still be using the Zen 2 CPU and not updating it to the latest Zen 4 CPU, means it could bottleneck the GPU, despite the PS5 Pro getting an additional 24 compute units over the PlayStation 5, allegedly, which in turn could mean that we wouldn't see the full potential of what the extra 24 compute units could offer. But again, I want to stress that this is all alleged, and who knows, Sony could have a solution to this with some custom silicone or something. So as always, take this stuff with a seed of truth. Now, also on a side note, a new PlayStation patent for a controller was discovered by Gamer Rant. The document reads, quote, "The controller is designed to act both as an input device and as a headphone storage, charging, and connection case," end of quote. Now, the document also brought up, quote, "As portability and gaming anywhere becomes more and more mainstream and important, the audio experience also becomes equally important," end of quote. So it looks like Sony could be working on a controller for a handheld gaming device. Now, as well as still giving you the opportunity to charge your earbuds while playing at home. So I know that was a whole lot that I just went over, and I didn't space it out equally correctly, but basically it looks like this new patent that PlayStation has with this earbud situation and controller, you'll be able to actually use the earbuds on the go, which appears to be for mobile gaming, as it were, being able to have your earbuds and the controller, charging it up as you're, doing what you're doing, either using the controller to play some games or whatever. But nobody knows how exactly it's going to work, because right now it is in the patent stage, and we know that a lot of times patents don't always come true. I believe Sony also had, and this was quite a few months ago, they were talking about having a controller that is supposed to go from hot to cold, which would be incredible if they could make that a reality. So again, this stuff is not, it is confirmed, but it doesn't mean that it's going to come to market as far as the controller goes. And as far as the PlayStation Pro 5 goes, as far as the specs on this thing, it looks like it could be something amazing. It looks like, I don't know about amazing. I don't know. I think sometimes I use amazing a little bit too much when I shouldn't be. But these specs, I don't know what half of those specs meant, to be honest with you. Did a little bit of research and I still couldn't figure out what was what. All I know is it's supposed to enhance the ray tracing. If that's the case, I'm not buying it. I'll tell you that. I will stick with my PlayStation 5. I mean, if it's a PlayStation 5 Pro that does release and it's doing something way better, like let's say that it's taking it from 60 frames per second to 120 frames per second, then just maybe I would go out there and buy it. But that's still a bit of a stretch for me, because I'm cheap. At the end of the day, I am cheap. So I don't know. It has to do something a lot more than just bump up the ray tracing on a game for me. It's got to give me a couple more bells and whistles in order for me to get, pretty much invested in the idea of getting a brand new console. And I'm sure that, thinking about how long we'll probably be in this generation, I don't see us getting out of this generation until probably 2028, maybe 2029, because of how long it took to get the supply chains, the not the supply chains, but the supply of PS5s, coming in. Even Xbox said they had some problems with the Series X, as shocking as that is. But yeah, we'll just have to see, man. I feel like I'm getting long-winded with this one. So we are going to move into the next story. So let's yet again take a trip down Rumor Boulevard to talk about some alleged Nintendo Switch 2 news. So this latest rumor is yet again coming from Nintendo insider Nate the Hate, who is saying that according to his sources, everybody got a source, don't they? Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody. I don't know. As I always say, take this whole story with a mustard seed of truth. But he says his sources told him the Switch 2 will support NVIDIA DLSS 3.5 ray reconstruction, which uses AI to improve ray tracing, even on devices that aren't very powerful. Now, listen. When I heard this, I said, I don't know if it's cap or if it's real. Can you imagine the Switch 2 having ray tracing? It makes me wonder, how powerful is this thing gonna be? I don't want to get too excited because, again, these are all rumors and we will know something within the next 12 to 24 months, I believe, according to Tom Warren. He said that, 12 to 18 months, we'll know more and hear about games coming to Switch along with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So I'm not going to get too hyped up about this, but I do want to continue on with what he said. He said this technology could be likened to DLSS tech, which can increase resolution without needing a lot of power under the hood, which that would definitely align with what Nintendo does. They usually don't make the most powerful hardware. So if they're able to have these kind of benefits with a console that is a little more underpowered, it does make it a little more believable. But let me continue on. It says, can you imagine the Switch 2 being able, oh, that's me saying that stuff. See, I'm writing and I'm still rusty. So y'all got to pardon me. But again, as I said earlier, take this story with a mustard seed of truth. I just can't imagine a Switch 2 being able to do ray tracing. And this is another thing that I do want to point out in this article. I believe it was a Metro article. They did say, now this is the only thing that makes me wonder, if the Switch 2 may be a little beastly, because in that Metro article, it said that it was rumors, again, here we go with these rumors, that the Switch 2 was running the Matrix Awakens demo. Did any of you guys play the Matrix Awakens demo? Now, granted, I didn't have my PS5 back then. I told you I just got it back in February of this year. So like I said, my back catalog is crazy. I got like 4 or 5 games that I'm missing that are still in the wrapper. But I remember I was talking to AB about this. Shout out to AB. He was telling me about the demo and how fantastic it was graphics wise. I mean, he was like, this is the future right here. This is next generation. And I mean, of course, I checked out Digital Foundry and the game. Well, it wasn't really a game. The demo, it looked astounding. So if the Switch can run something like that on this next console, man, that could be something. That could be something. But we will see. Let's not get too excited because, again, all of this is rumors and we'll know something concrete, I'm sure, coming into next year. Well, sometime next year. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. So we all know that Spider-Man 2 just released, and I was talking about it before, to an unbelievable review score. This stuff is astounding, to a 91 again on Metacritic. But it's this recent interview with Insider with this is the name of the outlet, Insider. They sat down and spoke to senior narrative director John Paquette. Matter of fact, I've had a couple of words with this brother. Oh man, this guys have actually had small conversation back when Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, 2018 it released. I congratulated him on LinkedIn, and he actually responded. I was shocked, but I couldn't get him on the show though. Nah, that wasn't gonna happen, man. I got to get my weight up to get him on the show. He didn't say that, but I'm saying that. But he was a real cool guy though. But anyway, narrative director John Paquette, who was asked about the possibility of a Venom spinoff, kind of in the same format as, I guess, like Miles Morales. And Paquette answered this by saying, quote, he said, so here's what we're doing. We're focused on Spider-Man 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to wait to see how the fans react. We're going to listen to the fans, and we're going to ask ourselves, okay, what do the fans really want? We'll kind of talk about that stuff after we've all had time to sleep and take vacations. End of quote. I kind of find it a little funny that Insomniac Games, he says that they're gonna, take some time to sleep and take a vacation. But anyway, that was a poor joke on my side. But anyway, the thing that I would say is I cannot imagine. Man, I just have to say this, man. I talked about it a little bit last week. Miles Morales, I just played it sometime in March. Man, brothers and sisters, what a fantastic game. I don't care what anybody's talking about. DLC, one and done, short game. I don't care what y'all talking. Miles Morales was absolutely marvelous. It was so good. I mean, graphics, story, narrative, the character development, fantastic game. So if they could do anything with Venom on the same level as a Miles Morales, and I have to say, just looking at their trajectory, they're going to do better than they did on Miles Morales with this possible. Again, it's only possibly happening. He did not confirm it, but this possible DLC with Venom, having it in that kind of setting, oh my gosh. Now, I just can't imagine how great that could be. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest comic book fan. I know about the symbiote or symbiote. I don't even know how you pronounce it. I know a little bit about the suit because of Spider-Man, 3, I believe. But I haven't been a big comic book fan of Marvel. I was always more of an Image fan, Spawn, Wildcats, those kind of guys on that side. I just thought Image was way better than Marvel. I mean, the art style and everything included was just leaps and bounds better than Marvel. So I never really got into their characters as much, but I'm familiar. But what I would say is, I hope this happens. I mean, I am eventually going to get Spider-Man 2. It's just right now, I ain't got the money. So eventually when I get the money to be able to get it, I will be picking it up. But I just, man, oh man, Insomniac Games, please, I hope this happens. I just really, really enjoyed Miles Morales. It was the perfect length of time. It wasn't too long, had enough side missions and things if you wanted to continue on with the game, but a solid 12 to 14 hours. I was perfect with that. So I hope that this next people call it DLC. I think it's a little disingenuous to call it DLC. The game was marvelous. So if they can make another game in the vein of Spider-Man Miles Morales and put Venom as the main character, I think this thing would do fantastic. fantastic. But anyway, I don't want to harp on that too much. We'll see what happens after the team gets back from vacation and getting their sleep in. We'll see what happens. But moving on to the next story that I picked up here from Push Square. Now, this next story is just a quick update. It's a report from Bill Bilkin, who's a PlayStation leaker, that is stating the PlayStation 5 Slim Spider-Man 2 bundle will release on November 8th. The physical PS5 bundle will be $559.99. But if you just want to buy the PlayStation 5 Slim console alone, they will be available on November 10th for $450 to $500. But to be clear, Sony has not confirmed these dates, so take it with a mustard seed of truth. I'll say if you were picking up Spider-Man 2 as it were anyway, and you wanted a PS5, you actually save $10, with this bundle. So I think that would be the better option if you are looking into actually getting a PS5 with Spider-Man 2, because they are saying, man, and when I say them, I'm always talking about critics or podcasts or, different news stories that are out there. It's not like I'm talking to a million people about these topics that are going on in gaming, but word around the gaming streets is, if you're looking for that next generation leap that we've all been waiting for, Spider-Man 2 is that bar. Now, I gotta also say this. I beat Horizon Forbidden West, and I gotta say that game to me, this generation, and again, I don't have Spider-Man 2, but to me, that is the game that set the bar for this generation. Xbox does not have anything remotely close to looking as beautiful as Horizon Forbidden West. That game is a bar. I understand some people didn't like it. I loved it. I played it from start to finish, 64 hours later. And I thought at the end of it, when I rolled credits, marvelous, absolutely marvelous. You know what? God dog it, man. Give Guerrilla Games some love, man. God dog. Guerrilla Games is amazing. Amazing. I don't think Guerrilla Games gets the love that they deserve. That game is a bar. You play it, you see it, and I'm not playing it on a 4K television and all that fly stuff that you rich guys got. I ain't got all of that. I got a regular TV, and that game looked amazing, absolutely amazing. So if they are saying in so many words that Spider-Man 2 is a better game than Horizon Forbidden West, graphics wise and everything else, oh my gosh, it's the perfect time to pick up a PlayStation 5. My gracious. Anyway, let's move on into the next story. Now, this next story, I got it from IGN. That last story I actually talked about came from Push Square. So let's get into the next story. So keeping with the superhero theme, EA Motive, which is the same team. Oh my gosh. These guys, I don't know if y'all played this either, but this is the same team behind Dead Space Remake. And oh my goodness, I don't know if you guys have played that. I have it. I do have it upstairs. It's one of the games in the wrapper on the PlayStation 5 right now. Matter of fact, Dead Space Remake. Now, I might be wrong on this, but I don't know if I am. I believe, just on a side note, I think Dead Space Remake is coming to Game Pass. I think the 27th of October, which is what? Is that Friday? Y'all look that up, but I believe Dead Space Remake is going to be in Game Pass sometime this week coming. If it is, man, listen, I'm not a Game Pass subscriber. I much rather buy my games than have the service because I don't have enough time to play the games that I do play right now. You're talking about I'm going to have access to hundreds upon hundreds of games. It sounds dope. It sounds amazing to have something like that. But for me, man, I'm an old gentleman. I'm 44 years old. I don't think I would have enough time. I don't have enough time to play the games that I do have. So for me, I will probably never be a Game Pass subscriber, but it is getting harder and harder and harder to say that Game Pass is not the best deal that you can get in gaming. I mean, this game just came out in January. So you're talking about 9 months later? It's in Game Pass? Golly! It's incredible. But anyway, let's get to the story. Here we go. They actually, and this is EA Motive. They gave a small but meaningful update on their upcoming Iron Man project by saying, quote, "We're still early in pre-production and taking our time to make sure we set the best possible foundation for development. But already we're finding so many opportunities to explore story, design, and gameplay with Iron Man, and it's exciting to see the fantasies start coming alive. Even this early in the process, we've put in place a community council made up of Iron Man and Marvel fans. As with Dead Space, they'll be offering feedback on pretty much everything throughout the development process." That is really, really promising. They say, meanwhile, we've chosen Unreal Engine 5 as our game engine in order to empower the dev team to work their magic and create something really special. End of quote. So that was one of the biggest takeaways. Now, Iron Man, oh my goodness. Okay, all right, let's start here. Now, I know it's two different teams. We're talking about BioWare. I'm about to talk about them just for a minute. Do you guys remember the game that they made? What was it called? Oh my goodness. And I'm having a hard time remembering it, but the flying and the graphics looked amazing. It looked very, very promising, but it just couldn't get out of the gate. And I'm gonna remember the name of the game as soon as I finish recording. I know I am, but I'm just thinking about the way the controls were on that game. If they could talk to BioWare and get those controls down for Iron Man, oh my goodness. It could be something really, really special. And right now, EA Motive, they have a winning record because you're only as good as your last project. And Dead Space was amazing. The remake was incredible. They did things that fans of the original even said some of the enhancements that they did do were for the better, for the betterment of the game. And they really did a fantastic job, using those updates, the graphics, the gameplay. I can't wait to play it. I mean, I think the game, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's sitting at somewhere around like a 90 or 89. I mean, it's a high grade. So when you're coming off of one project going into the next one with that kind of cachet, with that kind of pedigree, underneath your belt, it gives a person like myself a lot more confidence in what you'll be able to do with your upcoming project. And then the fact that they're going to be using Unreal Engine 5. Oh, man. I tell you, listen, brothers and sisters, I think, man, look, Unreal, matter of fact, we were just talking about the Matrix Awakening demo. That was Unreal Engine 5. Can you imagine what these studios are going to be able to do with stuff like that? With tools like that, can you imagine what these next set of games are going to be capable of looking like? Oh my goodness, man. So with that, on top of what they've done thus far and putting in place, people that are actually fans of not just Marvel, but Iron Man, making sure that they have these teams in place for the whole process of the development cycle. Good grief. I mean, they just brought up in the article that they did the same thing with Dead Space Remake. And we see again how fantastic that game came out. So with them using this same format for this upcoming Iron Man game, man, sky is the limit. I'm really excited. You know what? I just have to say this. I gotta say that superhero games have come a long, long way. I mean, if you're from my era, man, like I told y'all, I'm 44 years old. I come from the Atari 2600 era when Pitfall was doggone near dots. I mean, we're talking about, man, I don't even know if it was 1 bit back then, but you're talking about, from my perspective, seeing, just how far, they have come over the years. Anyway, listen, man, I don't want to get too long-winded. I don't want to get long-winded, because I'm trying to get y'all out of here within an hour. Right now, we're at 35 minutes, so we're doing pretty good. But I tell you, we'll just have to wait and see. We will wait and see to see what happens. But hold on. No, I got to say this. Listen, man, I ain't talked to y'all in a while, right? It's been 2+ years. Can I sit here and talk to y'all for a little bit? Please, just a little bit. I just want to say this. Coming from the era that I came from, superhero games were not always that good. I mean, you had some outliers over the years, like the Avengers that was in the arcade, which was dope, 4-player co-op. You had Spider-Man in the arcade where he would say web sling. That was pretty cool. But these games never made it to console. I mean, this was when consoles just were not strong enough to be able to have the arcade version be ported to the home version and it'd be a 1-to-1 arcade match. So I'm just talking about from a console perspective, though. Superhero games were terrible for a long time. But now with these different developers, we're talking about Insomniac leading the pack. You got the Batman team, the Arkham series. Who are those guys? Rocksteady doing what they do. And I gotta say this too. Listen, man, that Gotham Knights. Listen. I like I said, I don't know what the reviewers were talking about when it came to that game. That game, I have been playing that game non-stop. I was just playing it last night. And that game continues to just amaze me. Now, I know I said something on last week's show when I was talking about you can choose from the 4 players and you can get on the bat cycle and you can go around the city. And I was saying we had never seen anything like that. What I meant by that statement was we haven't seen anything like that, to my knowledge, in a Batman game. Now, not allegedly, but technically it's not a Batman game because Batman is not in it, but it still takes place within the lore of, the Batman universe. So when you jump on the Bat Cycle and you can actually go to these places that we've heard of, Arkham, the Arkham Asylum, you can go there. You can actually drive there. The map is huge. And you go to these different places, the cathedral, you can go to the GDC police department out there. I don't want to get out of the way. That's a spoiler. But it's so many things you can do in this game, and then being able to choose from 4 different characters, at any given time, leveling them up. It is just such a fantastic game. I just implore you guys, forget what the reviewers said. That game is stellar. Now, I don't want to oversell it and y'all get it and be like, I don't know, Keys might be capping a little bit. But I mean, truthfully, It's an amazing game. I have truly, truly enjoyed it. So just to see the landscape of gaming and superheroes, man, it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Even Guardians of the Galaxy. I understand Square Enix, they had a bit of a stain on a record, with the Avengers, but which made it so that, Guardians didn't sell as much. I actually have that as well. For the PS4, I'll pay the $10 and up into the PS5 version. But that game even won an award. It got a doggone video game award that year that it released. So I'm just saying all of that to say that this Iron Man game has the capability and possibility of being a fantastic Iron Man game. It could be something very, very special. But let's go ahead and move on, man. God, dog, I did get a little long-winded with that one. Pardon me. We got about 20 minutes left, so let's see if I can get us up out of here within the next hour. So let's go ahead and let's get into this next story. So, oh my gosh, this. So as usual, we have some GTA 6 news. And pretty much this has to do with us getting a GTA 6 trailer on October 26th. Now, you might be saying, why? Why? You might be asking. Well, the answer is simple. It's because of a promo image released by Rockstar, which depicted two characters on a billboard. Let me see. Hold on. Where is it? It's two characters on a billboard that says Vinewood at night. Now, fans are taking the V and I and saying this means 6 in Roman numerals, and then are matching up the phrase of wait a minute. They matching up the phase of the man. I'm not doing it.
You big dummy.
I don't even know why I'm even reporting on this right now. What am I doing? And these jokers took a billboard of GTA 5, was two characters on it. They were talking about the moon and how it's the phase of the moon and the Roman numeral V and I being 6 because they were behind Vinewood. And man, what the heck are we doing, man? What are we doing? What am I doing? Oh my God. Fact of the matter is, brothers, they are saying that they're saying that it's going to be a trailer that's going to happen this upcoming week, the 26th of October. Man. I shouldn't even reported on this. Oh, my goodness.
You big dummy.
Oh, my goodness. This is ridiculous. Anyway, do y'all believe GTA? What am I doing with my life? Do y'all think GTA 6 is going to happen this week? I absolutely do not. They were going down a timeline. It always happens in October. Red Dead Redemption 2 did the same thing. Max Payne, Red Dead 1, GTA, San Andreas. Man. We're going to move on to the next story because I don't think we are going anywhere fast with this GTA info. I mean, we all know that the word on the street is 2025. That's what everybody keeps saying, 2025. So I know we're going into 2024, and usually Rockstar, they'll take around close to a year, of promoting a game to get you ready, to get you hyped. They'll give you a date, then all of a sudden that date gets canceled. I mean, we kind of know the play by now with what they do, but I just don't think a trailer's happening on the 26th. And if it does, oh my gosh, man, if it does happen, these guys that are doing all of this extra work talking about the doggone phase of the moon and all of that jazz, man, y'all got it. I don't even know where I even got this story from. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea. But man, let's move on to the next story. We're almost done. Y'all ain't got to deal with me too much longer. So let's get on to this next story. So earlier this week, Phil Spencer had a sit down with, quote, official Xbox podcast, end of quote, and went over a few things. But one thing he mentioned was how soon Activision games will be coming to Game Pass. So we'll go ahead and we'll listen to that clip right now.
So now that the deal is closed, we're starting that work, but there is work. And I think the Activision Twitter handle or X handle, whatever we're calling it, did put out a statement. I can't call it that, but Twitter handle did put out something that talked about 2024. I think that's accurate. There's no. I would love it if there was some kind of secret celebration drop that's coming in the next couple of weeks. There's not. It's definitely when we think about the new games that are there. I would be straight with people, right? If we were going to put them in the subscription this year, I would tell people. And I know there'll be some disappointment about that. This acquisition is definitely long-term. So the fact that we're not hitting day one with a bunch of games dropping in to Game Pass is a little bit of a downer, but I'm very excited about the future. And I just want to be straight with people that that's where we are.
So yeah, 2024. 2024 is when we should expect to see Activision games coming into Game Pass, which, I mean, we had kind of heard that before. That was the rumor. 2024 was going to be about the timeline when that was going to happen. And like Phil said, this acquisition, it took a while. It took much longer for them to be able to close it. And once they did close it, that window had, figuratively closed on them being able to have any games release into Game Pass this year. But it's one thing I got to say about Phil. I mean, despite all of my questions about some things that he says, and trust me, we got one more quote coming up from him in just a minute. But I got to give this man credit for at least being honest. And I know that should just be what we should expect, is honesty. That should be the minimum. But these are companies at the end of the day, brothers and sisters. They'll say anything to get us excited, to get hyped up, to give them our hard-earned money. They will tell you anything you need to hear in order to get you to give them your money. So I have to say that Phil Spencer coming out there telling people, being straight up with them, look, nothing is coming this year. It's not going to be a surprise drop that's going to be happening. Nothing is happening this year nothing is happening this year. If you want to know what's happening, you got to wait until next year in 2024 when these games will be dropping. So after that, Phil Spencer, he also discussed what the future of Call of Duty will be now that they own the IP. So here is the clip of that.
For Call of Duty players on PlayStation and in the future on Nintendo, I want you to feel 100% part of the community. I don't want you to feel like there's content you're missing out, there's skins you're missing out, there's timing that you're missing out on. That's not the goal. The goal is 100% parity across all platforms as much as we can for launching content. I say as much as we can on parity because clearly some platforms have resolution and frame rate differences just based on perf. But there's nothing else. We have no goal of somehow trying to use Call of Duty to get you to buy an Xbox console. So it is, I want the Call of Duty nation to feel supported across all platforms. We've been on the other side of some of those skins and times, even this beta, wasn't on Xbox the first week. I don't think that helps the community. I don't think that helps the game. And so it's the focus. If you're a PlayStation player, you're a Nintendo player, PC player, or an Xbox console player, I want you to feel like 100% part of the Call of Duty nation.
Wow, Phil. So, yeah, that's what he said. They are not going to, as it were, hold content, behind the Xbox brand. Everything is going to be parity across the board. Now, of course, like you mentioned, due to some other consoles, power issues, looking at you, Nintendo, wink, wink. Allegedly, I don't know. If it's doing ray tracing, I might have to backtrack on that. But until we find out exactly, what the Switch 2 is going to be bringing to the table, I have to imagine that that's what Phil Spencer was talking about as far as not having parity, as far as like graphics and things of that nature go. But For anybody on PlayStation, 5 or just PlayStation in general, again, for Nintendo fans, according to Phil Spencer, you guys will be getting everything that Xbox fans will be getting on day one. That's what I heard. Maybe I didn't hear him correctly, but he said parity. Now, he said that he doesn't think those deals with the skins or, the early beta access, he doesn't think it does anything for the gaming community. So seems like he wants to do away with those practices and everybody will be on even footing. I don't know, Phil. I don't know. He says he's not trying to convince anybody to get an Xbox. $69 billion, Phil, or 68 point something billion dollars for this acquisition. And you are not trying to sell Xboxes. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. I don't know, man. I don't know. That is, that's very interesting to say the least. He is not going to hold this content hostage. Ah, man, I don't. Listen, man, I want console wars, man. That's what I want. I want these jokers feuding with each other. So from that angle, I don't want this to be the case. I want them to fight fire with fire. I want you to do the same things that PlayStation does to you. Do you think for a hot minute, that if PlayStation had Call of Duty, not just the rights, but they owned the IP, do you think that Microsoft or Xbox would be getting anything on the same lines of exclusivity or different skins or things of that nature? I would have to say no. Now, granted, we will see what Sony does do because they do own Bungie. And of course, Bungie, they do Destiny. So that'll be a nice barometer, I guess, to a certain degree, to see just how petty Sony possibly could be when it comes to something on the lines of like Call of Duty with the skins or things of that nature. But we will see. It's things like this that Phil Spencer says. And Phil Spencer, he reminds me of a person that is saying, let's put down let's stop the violence. Let's just stop the violence, put down all of the artillery and things of that nature, and let's just get along. But you are around people or companies that don't necessarily want to get along with you. They're all out there trying to take you down. But yet you continue to say, let's be friends and let's just get along. We are the world. We are the children. These jokers are out here trying to aim for your whole spot and you're still trying to get along with them. It reminds me, and I've said this before, it just reminds me of the two brothers that owned McDonald's. And they were just giving up the recipe to everybody on how to run a fast food restaurant. Taco Bell went to them. I think I don't know about Burger King, but I know Taco Bell was there getting the classes. They were just teaching them, hey guys, you got to do this and do that. Then they let Croc come up in there, and slowly Croc is just taking over piece by piece by piece until they pushed them out of the doggone industry. They got a bag at the end of the day, but not nearly even remotely close to as big of a bag as they could have gotten. So I just look at Phil Spencer as those two brothers, which I forget their names, that owned McDonald's originally and got pushed out. I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. Phil Spencer, being the good guy of gaming, allegedly. I mean, Man, I don't know, Phil. God, dog, brother, you got to fight these jokers, man. But we'll see what happens, man, in the upcoming years, because PlayStation does have a 10-year deal. Now, maybe Phil is just playing the long game. Over these next 10 years, we're gonna let you guys eat. We're gonna eat at the same table. You know, we're going to have the same utensils, same menu. Everything is going to be across the board perfect. You're not going to miss out on anything. But after that 10 years is over, who knows what happens? Maybe that is the play here at hand. It's the long game. So we'll see, man. But you gotta get those Xbox numbers up, because right now I don't have an Xbox Series anything, and I still don't see a reason to get one just yet. And this is a first. We're in year 3 of these consoles, and I still don't feel a need to have an Xbox. And you guys might remember when I first started this podcast, it was my console of choice. Pardon me. That was my favorite console. I thought that Xbox wasn't getting a fair shake back in 2016, 2017. I thought they were just hating on Xbox. Then I had to come to the reality that, wait a minute, hold on. I don't know if they are hating on Xbox. It just seems like Xbox is making too many mistakes, and they don't have the software that's really my type of software. The games that they were pushing, I'm like, when you look over at PlayStation, you got Uncharted, you got God of War. At the time, Ratchet and Clank came out. They just had so many. The Last of Us Part 2, which was my game of the generation. It was no better game than The Last of Us Part 2. I don't care what y'all say. These jokers up here talking about The Last of Us 2 wasn't a good game. Y'all crazy. Greatest game ever. Matter of fact, shout out to Naughty Dog, man. Ah, dog. Jokers made a classic on y'all, man. People was mad about The Last of Us 2. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next story. Phil, I got my eye on you, brother. Let's talk about some rumored Ubisoft news. Now, I got this story from Games Radar Plus, and it does not look like I'm gonna get y'all out of here within an hour. But let's talk about some Ubisoft rumored news. So it's a project codenamed quote Red. And apparently it will have a feudal Japan backdrop. And according to a leak from Ubisoft game writer Pierre, I think his name is Baldreas, the game will allegedly give you a choice to choose between 2 female characters, one who is a samurai, the other is, quote, understood to be an African refugee who learned the way of the Creed. Now, this is supposed to be the next Assassin's Creed game that is supposed to be coming up. Of course, again, take it with a mustard seed of truth. Nobody knows exactly what's happening. This is not something officially coming from Ubisoft itself. However, again, like I said, it's actually coming from Ubisoft game writer, Pierre Baldreas, like I said before. So we will see if this is true. I know that a couple of years ago, people really wanted Assassin's Creed to go to that time period, you know, with the samurais and things of that nature. Maybe they're listening. This last Assassin's Creed, they listened to the fans that really wanted Assassin's Creed to actually return back to what it once was, you know, in the past, kind of going around doing these assassinations, not having like this huge, gigantic open world to explore. They kind of wanted it to be more tight. And it seems like they actually delivered on that for the most part. So hopefully this is just another thing that Ubisoft is doing, that, you know, to listen to the fans and actually taking them to that place of feudal Japan. You know, oh man, I can't imagine. That does sound good. If any of you guys haven't played, good grief, man, my memory is just getting worse and worse and worse. What's it called? It's on PlayStation 4. It got a PlayStation 5 update It's the samurai game. Good grief. And I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember it. But that game was also fantastic. Another great game by Sony that came out. I mean, man, if they could do anything close to that, that would be absolutely amazing in an Assassin's Creed setting. I think they could have definitely a possible hit on their hands. But for me, I'm looking for one Ubisoft game. Well, actually two. I'll say two. I'm looking forward to this new Prince of Persia that's coming out, which looks really, really, really good. That side scroller. Oh my gosh, that game looks good. The game looks so good. Ghost of Tsushima. That's the name of the game. Golly. Yeah, if they can do anything on the lines of that, oh my goodness. Yeah, you're gonna have a great time. But like I was saying, Prince of Persia, and the other game is Star Wars Outlaws. Oh my gosh. Now see, I didn't record during that Ubisoft E3 show. Man, I gotta say, God dog, Ubisoft showed up. Man, when I saw, man, let me take a minute. Whoa. When I saw Outlaws, I called AB immediately. Well, I texted him. I said, AB, Ubisoft got one. They got one. This Outlaws looks crazy good. Matter of fact, I might say Outlaws might do what Starfield was trying to do better. Yeah, with the ship combat, yeah, man. I mean, being able to go to different galaxies when they did that warp speed. Oh my goodness! I said this game right here, man. This thing might be special. This thing might be special. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping that it's again, because we know Ubisoft. And them jokers got a little bit of a history too. I mean, Watch Dogs, wink, wink, how great that game looked, and then we got what we got. Yeah, them jokers, yeah, they can kind of push a little bit of extra up on you. But I'm hoping that with the consoles, man, these consoles are amazing. Well, I can only speak for the PS5, but the Xbox has, all of the third-party games as well. So I'm not gonna knock Xbox for that, but these consoles are doing amazing things. The PlayStation 5, like I said, you look at Spider-Man 2, you look at Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I can see the PlayStation 5 being able to do those kind of graphics in real time that they showed off at that Ubisoft E3-esque show. But the interesting thing about that is, though, I believe Xbox actually has the marketing rights to that Star Wars game. So, man, that'll be very, very interesting. But under Phil Spencer, though, he wants parity, though. So I don't even know if it's going to make a difference. Anyway, man, look, listen. Let me go ahead and reel this in. As far as again, this Ubisoft situation, the code name Assassin's Creed code name Red or whatever. Hopefully it's true. I hope so, because I don't know a lot of anything. I'm up here going off of blogs and what people say in comment sections, things of that nature. But we've heard that for quite some time, Ubisoft fans of Assassin's Creed have been wanting this setting. So hopefully this is something that Ubisoft will make happen. But with that being said, let's get into our final story. Let's shift back to Sony. So I've been talking about Sony this whole time. I don't know what I'm talking about, but let's talk about this. So there's some rumors out there that Sony is gonna be making a big acquisition to counter Microsoft's purchase of Activision, or you may call it ABK. So the first thing, I mean, this is the thing. The first thing we gotta remember is back in March, Sony, they had reported that they had $5 billion to spend on investment. So $5 billion is a boat ton of money. It is a ton of money So I'm not in any kind of way trying to say that $5 billion isn't a lot. It is a good grief. Talk about generational wealth. God dog. $5 billion is a mint. But this is the thing that I want to put in perspective to people that are saying that they're going to buy Take-Two, that they might buy EA, one of these big publishers that are out there. I want to say this. Take-Two, for their price tag, and of course, these guys are going to want profit. They're not going to sell for what they are necessarily worth. Everybody wants to make a profit off of it. So right now, they're worth $23.87 billion. That's Take-Two. Again, Sony has $5 billion. That is not going to happen. You got EA. EA is worth 34.52 billion dollars. That ain't gonna happen either. But to be fair, you do have Square Enix. Now, that's been one that everybody has been talking about. They're gonna get Square. You already got Final Fantasy 16. You got Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth coming out. It's exclusive. Buy them. They make the most sense. They actually could afford Square Enix because they are $4.09 billion. So that is a possibility. But will they blow? Like I said, they're going to want some profit on that. So maybe they want to sell for closer to $6 billion. I mean, you don't know. I'm not a business major, so I don't know exactly how it works. So I'm just going off of just regular numbers. I'm not trying to get deeper than that. But if they wanted to buy them, would they be willing to blow the whole budget? I mean, they got $5 billion. At even $4.09 billion, you pretty much have spent your whole budget. Would they be willing to make that kind of gamble? Because that is a huge gamble. You're going to put all of your eggs in one basket and say, we're going to make this work. I mean, the last time I was reading an article, I believe Final Fantasy 16 didn't even make back its money that was spent on it. Now, granted, you could chalk that up to saying that they switched the format. They didn't do the things that the fans really wanted to see. They did too much of a change, stuff like that. Yeah, you could put that on it. But nonetheless, these companies are in business to make money. So if you're thinking about making an acquisition and Square Enix being one of those acquisitions that you may want to take on, then you got to look at the books. And right now, one of their biggest games, their biggest game of the year, I don't think it flopped. It just didn't make the money back that they needed it to. And that's another thing about Square Enix. We know that they're kind of crazy with their numbers at times. I remember Tomb Raider, one of the newer Tomb Raiders, had sold very well. I don't remember the number, but even though it sold very well, they still considered it a flop. So, I mean, you might have to consider that a little bit too. Like, is Square Enix being realistic about these numbers? As far as, determining what's a flop and what actually made money, I don't know. But that seems like that's about the only one of the few companies, if you're talking about a publisher, that Sony could afford, because even Capcom, which those guys have been on a tear, man. Shout out to them. Resident Evil 4 remake, that's going to be game of the year. That's going to be up for game of the year, I think. I don't know. But even them, they're selling for $7.38 billion. Well, not selling, but they're worth $7.38 billion. So Sony's $5 billion, it just is not going to go as far as people are expecting it to. And if they do want to get it Take-Two, I mean, this is what they have to spend. Do they want to go in debt, or maybe not debt, but borrow that kind of money to take that kind of gamble? I just don't know if they'll do that. So who knows what they're going to do? Actually, it was this guy, actually his name is, he's a seniors, I believe he's a research senior games analyst. His name is Carl Sovereign. He thinks that they'll actually take their catalog of what they have, excuse me, their catalog as a whole, Sony, with the movies that they own and the video games, and kind of put them all into one service, to actually combat Game Pass. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that's even remotely gonna work. I mean, these movies, yeah, they're cool movies, but matter of fact, I don't even know outside of Spider-Man what movies Sony even owns. So you're talking about a mixture of like Netflix and Game Pass all in one. I don't think that's gonna work, because that's not the demographic that you're trying to reach. You're trying to reach gamers. I get that you want to talk about added value. We got movies in there. That'll be great. Nah, man, what's his name again? Carl? Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think that'll be their strategy. I don't know what Sony is going to do, but one thing is for sure, Microsoft ain't playing around, man. They just knocked two major publishers off of the board. I said that last week, verbatim, but it's true. They're gone. So anything that they have up under their wing, they control it. That next Elder Scroll, you think that's coming to PlayStation? The next Fallout, you think that's coming? You think the new Wolfenstein is coming? Doom is coming? Or the next Dishonored? These guys got a ton of stuff underneath their belt. And Sony, they have to do something. Like I said, Take-Two, I think that's a bridge too far. I would love Take-Two underneath Sony's leadership. Oh my goodness, we see what Rockstar does already. Could you imagine that ship being turned and steered with Sony at the helm? Oh my gosh, they would be beastly times 5. But I just don't think in reality that's what we get. But we will definitely see about this. Sony definitely has to make a move. I'm not necessarily saying they have to make one soon, but they got to get some stuff in motion, in my opinion, because right now Sony is the market leader. You got to keep on moving forward, though. You can't kind of rest on your laurels, too much, with that. And I don't think they will. I think that Sony has had a fantastic generation thus far. I don't think they could have done any more than what they have to this point. It just seems like now, going into 2024, which are the waters that are a little murky. We don't know exactly what we're going to get in 2024 outside of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and that new multiplayer game that's coming up. I think it's Helldivers, I believe. That's coming up as well. So outside of those two, and maybe one other game, we have no idea what Sony is doing. So maybe during this time, they're actually getting their ducks in a row, getting things together, and they're going to have an amazing 2024. I don't see it right now. I do know that Xbox is coming. Doggone Paul Revere style. Xbox is coming. Xbox is coming. They definitely have a lot of stuff in there, in the tuck. They got a lot of ammo that they can, put out there. And all of these studios, good gosh, I don't know. It could eventually be a problem for Sony if they hold out too long. But Sony has, just to kind of go against that point a little bit, Sony has some of the greatest studios ever in gaming. Top 5 studios in gaming. I think Sony has at least 2 of them. I would say Insomniac and Naughty Dog. I would even go with Sony Santa Monica as well. They might have 3 out of the 5. And Sucker Punch isn't a slouch either. So with that kind of talent, and those kinds of experiences that you make, they will trump anything that Microsoft does, at least right now. Now, next year, I don't know. You guys know Ninja Theory. Man, listen, man, I believe in Ninja Theory. I think that those guys are going to be the equivalent of a Naughty Dog for Xbox, along with the Coalition, those guys, and Playground Games. Those three are probably the three best studios that Microsoft has outside of, they got Bethesda, they got Activision. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm getting so long-winded. God, dog, let me get out of here, man. That is the end of the gaming news this week. So let me go ahead and get ready to get you guys up out of here. We're going to get into the last topic after this week's video game theater. And I have to say this, man. This week, we're going to be taking a look back at Mafia 1, the definitive edition. This is the intro of the game. Because it's not at that 5-year mark, I don't want to ruin anything, with a clip. So I want to, just one of the best games I've ever played. So with that being said, let's get into this week's video game theater starring Mafia.
Dip your beak. No, thanks. Suit yourself. So, you said on the phone you might have a proposition for me. That's right. Well, if you're looking to set up a gravy train, you called the wrong cop. I'm not looking for any associates. Good. Because I'm on the nut. Can't even pay for the coffee. But I got plenty to trade. Well, let's hear it. How long you been in town? 3 years. Caught my teeth in Empire Bay. Well, they handed you the Morello case. Right out of the gate. That's what the paper says, ain't it? And what's it to you? Tough break. Case must be getting pretty cold by now. Or you got something might warm it up? Yeah, I might have something. And what's my end of the deal? You want money? Some sort of immunity? None of that. I got people I need to protect. Families. Always the Achilles heel, ain't it? So who you got? A sick ma or a wife and a litter kid? Wife and daughter. And no one else to watch your back, I'm guessing. Wouldn't be here otherwise. Pity that. Pa always said a man needs friends if he's going to survive in this world. Yeah. Well, in my world, it's the other way around. No surprise there. Look, I can't promise anything for your family, not until I hear what you're trading. So, are you talking? Or are you just killing time before they come for you? You think I'm on the run? Oh, I know it, Tommy. Jesus, look at you. Surely gassed. You haven't slept for days. And your neck's got to be aching from all that looking over your shoulder you're doing. No, the way I figure it is you got someone powerful mean on your tail and they ain't giving up until you end up in the river. And you walk out that door without me, we both know you're not making it 5 steps. But yeah, you stick around, you tell me your story, and maybe you got a shot at living long enough to walk that girl of yours down the aisle. Either way, looks like I'm buying you a cup of coffee.
Man, oh man. That game right there, brothers. Golly. Man, that game right there is so underappreciated, in my opinion. It's one thing about the Mafia franchise. They always are just right there. They're right there, so close to actually being among the elite. Hangar 13 is a phenomenal studio. They're just short when it comes to gameplay. I can't even say graphics. Graphics in Mafia Remake were so well done. The voice acting is always top notch, and there's storytelling. There's stories. Golly, they tell some of the best stories in gaming. It just seems like they can't get over that hump. So when they were talking about Mafia 4 being in the works, I'm saying to myself, I thought they were going to do it in 3. Usually by the 3rd one, that's when they actually hit their stride. Maybe it'll be Mafia 4 that will get them into, that upper echelon place, being up there with the elite, as it were. But if you haven't played Mafia Remake, I don't know, man, you probably pick it up for $20 right now, $30. It wasn't even full price when it first released digitally. So if you can get it, you can find it. It's definitely worth your time. Definitely. But with that being said, guys, let's get into the final section of the podcast. And that is, of course, the question of the week. I know you saw it at the beginning. Greatly appreciate you guys spending this time with me. But the question that I want to officially ask you guys is, should Super Mario Wonder be nominated for Game of the Year? I know y'all are probably saying, of course it should. Scored a 93, one of the greatest games on paper this year, ever. Not just on paper, but critically acclaimed. The whole 9 has all of the criteria for it to be up for Game of the Year. Me, I don't think it should be up for Game of the Year. I don't think any Nintendo game should be up for Game of the Year. You might be saying, oh man, what are you talking about, Kiaun? Well, I'm going to tell you this. If this game had been any other character outside of Mario, outside of Peach, outside of all of the mainstays of Nintendo, with this game, it got a nod for Game of the Year. And of course, it hasn't officially got a nod for Game of the Year, but I'm pretty sure it will. I don't think so. One of the best platformers, in my opinion, is Ori. The whole Ori franchise, The Will of the Wisp and Ori and the Blind Forest. 2 of the most amazing platformers ever. Did that ever get put up for Game of the Year? Of course it didn't. Why? Because it's not Nintendo. No, that was a whack answer. No, it didn't, because it just doesn't have that mainstream appeal. It did get some awards, but if we are going strictly off of what is a great game and what's not a great game, I don't know why Ori shouldn't have been up for Game of the Year. I know it won some award, but when we're talking about Nintendo, I think they should be graded on a different scale. They should get, I was talking to AB about this, maybe they should get Best Platformer or something like that. Because similar to, what's it, not the Grammys, but the Oscars, the last animated film to win a game of the, a film of the year, or to even get a film of the year nomination was Beauty and the Beast back in 1991, 1992. They don't count cartoons for game. Keep on saying game for movie of the year. They go bar for bar. Movie, this movie, that movie, that movie. Now, of course, they could get those other Oscars, best animation or best score or something like that. But they never get put in the category for being best movie of the year. I think that's what they need to do with Nintendo, because since, according to everybody, Nintendo isn't competing, Nintendo isn't going against Sony, they're not going against Microsoft, they're doing their own thing in their own corner, doing what they're supposed to be doing, being whatever they're being, then they shouldn't get the same treatment then. If they're off doing their own thing, grade them on a different level. It is no way that Microsoft could get away with this, that Sony could get away with this. Nobody in the industry outside of the big 3, the other 2 would never be able to get away with half of what Nintendo does. 30 frames per second, 720p. Come on, man. Nah, I don't think Mario should be up for Game of the Year. I don't think Zelda Breath of the Wild should be up for Game of the Year, because they are not keeping up. That is, that's a slap in the face. If I'm a developer, if I'm Insomniac, if I'm even Bethesda, if I'm Bethesda, if I'm any of these guys out there putting all of this work in, this ray tracing, 60 frames per second, photorealistic graphics, storyline, doing a real story, writing a real script for a game, and you tell me that Super Mario Wonder is up for Game of the Year with what I just did? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? I would be fuming. I would be so hot. I don't care if they Nintendo. I don't care. These guys are not on the same level as what these other developers are doing. Why do they keep getting a pass? Everybody wants to say Nintendo, and I get it. They saved gaming. I hear you, God dog, and I hear you, but come on, man. It is no way these guys should keep getting this kind of pass. Now, maybe with this Switch 2, I don't know, maybe they're going to blow our wigs back or something with this thing. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But that ray tracer sounds interesting. But nonetheless, no. I don't think Nintendo, any of their games should be up for Game of the Year. Maybe best adventure game, cool. Best platformer, sure. Whatever genre they did that year, they should be in that. But to actually be nominated for Game of the Year, man, until y'all do better, until y'all are coming to the table with better graphics, better storytelling, some stuff, ray trace, some special effects, man. God dog. Everybody else has to do all of this fly stuff, but Nintendo gets to do the bare minimum. And I'm saying this bare minimum because when you compare something like Super Mario, Metroid, and I'm a fan of Nintendo. I actually became a fan of Nintendo from, what people always say that though. Don't they? They'll say, oh man, I'm saying this and that about a brand, but no, I'm a fan. I'm going to take that off the table for a minute. I do have a Switch. I do, but I stand by what I say. I don't think they should be up for it. They're not putting in the work. They're just not. And until they do, I think they should be graded differently. But what are your thoughts? I would love to hear from you. You can reach the show two different ways, like I said before. Either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is the analogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I want to know, am I tripping? I mean, golly, I don't think so. I truly don't, but that's me. Anyway, God dog, almost an hour and a half later. Gee whiz. Let me get out of here, man. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Deeply appreciate it as I get my podcasting legs up underneath me more and more each episode. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this up and put a bow on it. And always remember one thing before we get out of here officially. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So with that being said, until the next episode when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.